Ivo.
Hello, Els. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
That's
How's the
good.
weather in Poland? You're in a sweater.
I'm in the sweater because no heating, but the weather is cold actually, so
Oh,
don't know how it is in Belgium.
24 degrees.
Wow, we have 13 today. So yeah, that's why sweater. But um, I'm very happy that we are able to talk and to meet, and we want to talk about this subject that is very important. I know it's very important for you. And the first question I have is why actually have you decided to do this talk with me about food regarding dogs in Poland that you have seen on the workshops?
Yeah.
Because you've been here several times, you've seen a lot of dogs, a lot of people and dogs, and you've decided to make this talk because what was the main reason?
The main reason was worry and also a bit of frustration of seeing the same issue over and over again. It's an issue that is not um, solely, I'm not solely seeing that in Poland, but I'm seeing it so often in Poland.
Mm.
It really strikes me as an issue that is really so common in Poland. And it's such an easy thing to solve. It's just feeding your dog enough food. I see too often on each workshop that I have in Poland, there are at least 2 or 3 dogs, at least, that are absolutely undernourished to the point that it is the undernourishment that is causing the issue that the people are actually trying to solve without actually tackling the most simple and obvious solution: give more food. The issue that I often see in dogs that have been underfed from puppyhood on is that they do not develop. They just simply do not grow a brain. A brain needs food. And if you don't have enough food in your body, but your body needs to develop, well, the nourishment is going to go to the physical body and not, it's going to be mostly directed to growing the physical body, although I see those dogs also not really maturing enough in their physical body. But it is so obvious that they are still behaving like an immature dog. And it's not just me saying that, because when we have even lay people on the workshops, and I ask them to guess the age of the dog, or I ask them, what age is this dog behaving like? They they agree. They see it very clearly. You don't need to be a dog trainer or a specialist in any shape or form. You clearly see it that this dog he's 4 years old and he's behaving like he's not even 1 year old.
Yeah.
And that's just because the brain hasn't developed. And you can't do any training to have that brain develop if the nourishment isn't in place. And yeah, that's something that is just occurring too often. And there's such a simple solution. I mean, you're a very rich country. You're really doing good. It's not that we're in an underdeveloped country and people really can't afford to give their dog enough food. It's absolutely not that. Because most of the time people comment,
Yeah.
yes, and we have a special diet because maybe there is a food allergy. But even if there is a food allergy, what the dog is allowed to eat, give it enough.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of money,
Nah.
um, as you do, but often we see thin dogs that are doing sports. Often I I've heard from the vets, different vets, that the dog should be slim because it's good for the joints. Because the dog, when the dog is overweight, it pushes on the joints. It's not healthy for the dog. And also about the food that the dog should eat. Very often vets they recommend this dry food from one or two companies. That is, yes, sometimes it could be okay, but in my opinion, it shouldn't be like the dog is eating the same food all of the time through all of his life.
Okay, so you talk about two things. What was the first one?
It's not the question of money. It's often people that are doing sports with the dogs.
Yeah, it's about. So your first thing was about the weight, and
Yeah.
it should be too much so that it's not too heavy on the joints, and maybe your dog has hip dysplasia and should be careful about how much the dog weighs. Well, guess what? Hip dysplasia is an instability problem. And what do you need to be more stable if your skeletal system is not really giving you the stability? Well, you need muscles. Ta-da! You need muscles. And you know what? Muscles weigh a lot, and they weigh more than fat. So it just doesn't make any sense to. We're not talking about obese dogs, okay? Of course, dogs should not be obese, but dogs should have enough body on their body, should have enough muscle, and then they can support their joints, and then they can have proper movement. If they do not have enough muscle around their joints, they cannot stabilize the joints, and you actually will have more issues. They will have more osteoarthritis because of the constant wear and tear of the instability. And they will have that anyway, but you can diminish it. You can keep the joint better stabilized if you have good muscle tissue around it. And then I often get the answer or the question, should I do more exercises? If your dog is underfed, giving him more good food will automatically put more muscle on the body. Do not over exercise, or do not extra exercise a dog that is undernourished, because then the little nutrition that he gets, he has to spend it in these exercises instead of building a brain, instead of building a body. So food. What I often get in Belgium as well is that people here, and this is mostly in puppy classes, where people heard from their vet that the puppy is actually looking good. I do not want to see ribs in a puppy.
Yeah.
A puppy needs to have a reserve. Why? Because even if the puppy is really well fed at one moment, I'm gonna have to tell these people at some stage, like, oh, wait a minute, your puppy is going through a growth spurt. And they don't see it because they see their puppy each day. And I need to tell them, like, now she's actually too skinny. You need to up the food. Oh, but we're already feeding what's on the label on the bag. Do you have an average dog? Or is your dog fantastic and super? Well, then she doesn't fit in the average column that or writings that are on the bag. Feeding a puppy is by sight, not by what is on the label. They need to look well fed, and a puppy under the age of 6 months, they should have a well-formed belly. They must have some reserve. In their belly, there is an organ that is really large and is relatively extra large, actually, in proportion to their size, because it doesn't grow that much as their whole body grows. It's the liver. And if a puppy is having a slim tummy, and I'm always wondering, where are all the organs? How do they fit in? And why isn't that belly looking like a proper belly, like a puppy should have? What I also hear from my vets is that they do see very often obese dogs. And it is possible that we do see a different clientele, because the people that come to us are, well, very interested in learning about dogs. Not everybody who goes to the vet is like the people that we have on our workshop. So it might very well be that in general they do see more obese dogs than underfed dogs. But still, what I hear from the vets, from my vets, say that this dog is an okay dog and shouldn't weigh more than that, I still often disagree. I often disagree because I think like, there really could be some more muscle on the shoulders or on the hips, or that belly is really up and looks very tight. And if the dog could just be a bit more comfortable in his body, and just also have some more reserve in terms of, for young dogs, in terms of growth spurts, but also in terms of, immunity, being healthy and having a bit of surplus. And I know that there is a thing in humans as well, that it's always better to be a bit extra lean. But I'm speaking about having a well-developed body that is really in balance, and that should have a percentage of fat, and it definitely needs to have a good percentage of muscle to carry the body and have good movement, have good coordination, have good stability.
And also, dogs are different and they will look differently if they will get more muscles here and there.
Yes, and some dogs also, when they are actually good, they look a bit bulky. Some breeds have that.
Yeah.
But even within breeds, I mean, come on, look at people. Look at, even compare me to my brothers, and we have a totally different build, right? They are healthy, and I think I'm healthy, but we do look different. But we have this fixed idea, like each dog of that breed should look like that picture in those books, or pictures on Facebook,
or the limits that we have for each breed should weigh this and this, height this and this. So
yeah, exactly like the percentage of how much food should you give, which is on the label of the bags. Those are averages. If you really look at your dog, if you look at how your dog functions, does your dog get really frustrated around feeding time because actually he's already hungry for an hour and a half? And maybe you need to just feed your dog a bit more so that he doesn't always need to go into frustration. I've had dogs on workshops in Poland that I refused to train for food. They were that skinny, really skinny dogs that, well, if I get such a dog in front of me, I refuse to have them work for food. Oh no, because I cannot be part of underfeeding this dog. Whatever people then give me of, this is the food you can train with, well, there you go. Just have it.
yeah, also it's not fair for the dog. And when we imagine being hungry like all of the time, okay, we've ate, but then after a few hours we are hungry for several hours. The mood that we have, the decisions that we make, the reactions that we have, they are completely different.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And that is, the thing is, these people, look, they invest in coming to workshops, they invest in asking expert opinions. So they really care about their dogs, and they are searching for solutions because of behavior issues. And those behavior issues are really so typical for frustration, for also for not having a properly developed brain, for not being able to deal. That I work with sensory integration in dogs. Well, yes, I do. Well, when you have a dog that really has an issue with integrating the information. So there's two types of sensory integration issues. There's the modulation, and there's really putting the bits together and making them fit together. In that area, I see that these issues are mostly caused by a pathology in the dog or by underdevelopment of the brain. And so people come to me to solve those issues because the dog really has a problem. The brain is really underdeveloped, or there are other behavioral issues because of constant low blood sugar levels, constant hunger, constant frustration. And they are searching, and they are trying their best to find a solution for these behavioral issues. And it's just so frustrating to see a dog at 4 years old, and you need to tell the people, like, you have never fed your dog adequately. And that's why you now have these many behavior issues. That's why you have a puppy in a 4-year-old dog. And that's not cute. That's not cute.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the Hunger Games. We've touched the obesity. Actually, maybe I'm wrong, but on the workshops, you've seen one dog that was obese?
Yeah, true. Yes, one dog.
Through
And
all
it
of
was
them.
because of a physiological issue.
Yeah. Okay. And what about there is quantity of food and there is quality of food? Because there were questions on the Facebook about vitamins, about raw feeding raw meat, and what you think about proper kind of food for the dog?
Well, I'm a fan of raw. I never pressure my clients to change the food, and definitely not to change it to raw, because, well, for some people it's also just inconvenient. And I do believe that there are really good kibbles on the market now. They are really good for dogs. And some really annoying dogs, really very annoying dogs, do actually well on kibble from Aldi. That's like super annoying.
And no diarrhea and no problems.
Yeah, exactly. So there are moments when I talk to clients, and I explain, like, look, for those and those reasons, I think your dog would actually be better if you could, even if just for a certain time period. transition to raw. And that's especially when I see dogs. Like I just had a Rottweiler in puppy classes. Do you love Rottweilers?
Love them.
Yeah, me too.
I love them.
That dog was skinny.
Mm.
That dog was, there was no muscle on his body. He was, his energy was super low. He had been going through giardia, but he was healthy now. Said, well, meaning he didn't have giardia anymore. Of course, he's not healthy. Now he needs to start healing. And to that person, I said, look, the easiest way, the quickest way to get him to actually recuperate and build his muscle, because he really needs it. It's going to be a big and heavy dog. He absolutely needs his muscle. It will be by going for raw. And if that's difficult for you, you might not need it for the rest of his life. But now that he really needs a lot of energy to grow his body, there I actually talked to the person and said, like, look, for me, I think it's best to now transition to raw, which he did, and the dog is growing really well. Yeah.
I'm looking for questions on Facebook that I remember in my head. I know. What are the most common, if you can say that, situations that the dog is not digesting food very well?
And what do they mean with not digesting food very well? Like not enough uptake of nutrients, or that they get an upset tummy?
They might get an upset tummy, but for example, you see pieces of food in the poo.
Okay. So then it's not a proper digestion. You know, from the workshops that I'm quite keen on checking the biome. That's always a really good place to start, because so many dogs don't have, and people don't have a proper biome, gut biome. A gut biome is so the whole bunch of bacteria that you're supposed to have in your gut. And well, there need to be different families of bacteria, and they need to be present in different ratios. And if they are not, they can actually, the lack of it can cause issues. And if from a certain family there's too many of them, it can cause issues as well. And the type of problems that it can cause actually varies depending on which bacteria is too much or too little present. And you need to measure. You can't just give a probiotic, because there are so many strains of bacteria, and you need to know which are lacking, or you need to know which are actually too plenty, and how do you reduce it. I've been working a lot with the company Biome for Pets, so I've been seeing quite a few biomes of dogs, and what they try to do is not actually add more probiotics, but make sure that the gut milieu is in a way the right type of milieu for the bacteria to grow. And if there are too plenty, they're not going to add others of which there are too little, because if these guys are too much, the other guys don't actually stand a chance. There's a sort of biofilm situation going on, and you need to be able to diminish that biofilm and to diminish those bacteria. So I think a lot of gastrointestinal problems have to do with the biome, with the gut biome. And whenever you have recurring digestive issues, gastrointestinal problems with your dog, it's really good to have that checked. And even if you don't have that, because now I'm also testing the dogs that I see that are on psychopharmaceuticals, that are on SSRIs, and their biome always comes back with very low Clostridia. So there's a very clear link with behavior and the gut as well. And then you can do all the types of behavioral therapy that you want. You can try all sorts of psychopharmaceuticals, and they might have an effect, but they do not tackle the cause of the issue. So I'm really very keen on having that checked, especially also when you're working with a dog for a behavioral issue, and you're reaching a plateau, and then from there on nothing seems to work. Well, of course you need to try sensory integration, but you can also do a biome test, a gut biome test.
Okay. So we have the main point: feeding dogs more food, proper food, watching out for gut bacteria, like have it in your mind if something is going on. And what else? We have brain development, body development. What else?
I think we're good.
Yeah. Great.
Great.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing with us. And we hope to see you soon.
Well, I hope to see you soon too. Bye.
Bye.